Hello. Hopefully, we are coming in live on YouTube. And I know I've said that every time, but I don't know, fingers crossed lately. It seems like I need a bit of luck. My name is Heather, and I am the host of the podcast Sunshine PowerCuts. And this week, I'm bringing to you a week of live streams celebrating connections. We've had an amazing start so far. We've had conversations with Elisa Lucas from Best Forevers, a podcast for kindred spirits, Stephen John Drew and Stargate Pioneer from Better Podcasting, Paul Chomo from the Varmints podcast, and Chris Carlson from the Podcasting Couch. Then we had the amazing Adam Higgins from Odd Dad Out and Perry and Lindsay Johnson from Hello Life WTF and the Pod Stuff. Today, it's amazing to be talking to Jilanne Holder from JilanneHolder.com and the Business Mum Community Facebook group, who happens to be the one and only guest who is in my time zone in New Zealand. Thank you so much for being here, Jilanne.
Hi, everyone. I'm so excited for day 4 of the Sunshine Summer. It's just been such a great week so far. I'm just so excited to chat with you today.
I'm excited that we get to hang out twice this week. Plus, for anyone who doesn't know or doesn't listen to the podcast, Jilanne was my very first guest in Sunshine episode 13, the introduction to this series on connections. And we had a great catch up then. And today we're going to be talking a little bit about connections in business and life. So if you wanted to let us know, Jilanne, a little bit of your backstory so that people can get familiar with who you are.
Absolutely. So I've had my own business for about 3 or 4 years now. I do social media and email marketing and things like that. And I joined the Female Entrepreneur Association and met Heather in the group. I was so excited. Probably over a year ago now, isn't it?
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah, and so working from home, I thought, wow, this is awesome. I don't have to get dressed. I can just work whenever. But it just got so lonely after a while. So I decided to form a Facebook group called the Business Mum Community. And we share ideas and collaborate and all of that kind of good stuff in the group. So, yeah, it's really exciting.
Yeah, I loved that about the FEA too, was that it was a group, like you said in our in the podcast episode, that it was like an international female entrepreneur association. So there was people from all over the world. But then when it came to the getting an accountability side of it, we connected and we were both in New Zealand, and we've actually been able to meet up as well. So where there's connections out there everywhere, and then when you can have the ones that are the local ones and meet up in person, that adds a whole other awesome element to it.
Yeah, it really does. Like you can Skype and Zoom and have Google Hangouts as much as you like, but actually getting in the same room as somebody and connecting in real life in person is it's really special.
Yeah. And your Business Mum Community group is helping sort of inspire and empower business mums to get the tools and the support that they need to follow their passion projects or to take their businesses that they're doing further, as well as looking after themselves and their families.
Exactly, yes. I kind of do a whole range of things, really. I mean, I originally started it for mums in business, but then I've had so much interest that other people were like, can I join? Can I join? I don't have a business, but I have a hobby that I'm working on or some kind of creative outlet that they are thinking of turning into a business. Some people run hotels, some people are farmers. I mean, farmers are like classic work from home. You can't work from home more than being a farmer. Yeah. So I've got like a whole range of mums on there doing all sorts of different things at different stages of business, if they have a business or, you know, they following, just it's all about following your passion and really taking care of yourself and putting yourself first sometimes, because I think mums especially, we just do everything for our families and we're like last on the list.
Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah. And families and business, they take a lot of energy and a lot of our time, and working from home also, there can be a boundary issue of separating those things so that you can focus on work when you need to, but also meet your family's needs.
Exactly. So it's just finding that balance. And like all the aeroplanes, if you've ever taken a flight anywhere, they always say put your own oxygen mask on first, and that applies so much. I'm so passionate about that concept, and it just applies to mums in general. Even if you don't have a business, even if you're a stay-at-home mum, even if you work a corporate job, even if you work part-time, it doesn't matter what you do. You have to fill your own cup up first so that you've got energy and everything to bring to the table for your,
Yeah, I love that. And another thing about being sort of at home, it can be quite isolating too, and it can be a hard thing to sort of branch out and make those connections or know where to find them. So if you have any things that you could share on kind of how to look for or where to go to kind of make connections and the mindset behind that.
Yeah, absolutely. Like working from home, I thought this is awesome. This is my dream job. I'm an introvert, which I always thought meant I was shy, but it's nothing to do with being shy at all. It's about getting energy from other people. And introverts, they can show up and be with other people and make connections, but then they also need a lot of alone time. So when I started working from home, I'm like, whoa, got the jackpot here. This is awesome. But after like 3 or 4 years, I'm like, no, I need connections. I need to meet people. And I was living in my hometown at the time. And I mean, if you've got kids and you work from home, then you're going to take your kid on play dates and to play center and to kindergarten and to preschool and all those things. So it's really important to not sit back and really introduce yourself to other mums, because they know what you're going through. It doesn't matter what you've been through, what you're going through. Somebody there knows what you're talking about, which is so important too. Like when you make connections, it's about celebrating your similarities, but also connecting on the things that are different as well.
Yeah.
So I absolutely recommend, if you're sitting at home wondering how to make friends, go out, take your kid to anything that they're interested in, and then actually make the effort. Because sometimes I'm finding when I drop my son off at his kindergarten, everybody's so busy, they're rushing to work, it's just drop and run, and you don't really get time to connect with anybody. Yeah. So I always try and go a bit earlier, and I chat with the other kids and the teachers and, any parents that are dropping their kids off. So I just make that space and that time that I can actually sit there for 10 minutes and connect with people, because sometimes they could be the only people I speak to all day.
Yeah. And also, if you don't sort of make that branch out, then you might discover something new anyway that you had not known about them. You might find that they are on the same journey, and you just, if you hadn't asked or you sort of initiated something, then you wouldn't even know that. You
wouldn't know. And everybody's got something that they do or something that they're interested in, and until you actually have a conversation, you don't know at all what they're into. I just spoke to a mum the other day, and I found out that her husband works away and she's alone with 3 kids all week. And if I didn't chat with her, I wouldn't have known that. So now I can think of ways to support her. Every time I see her, I can go chat with her, see if I can help with anything, and
and also
things like that.
Yeah, and also you've had a bit of interest when you actually share what you do, and they're like, oh, I've been thinking about maybe I could do something from home, and they might not know anything about it, but you've kind of got that experience to share with them.
Exactly. That I found that crucial before I even started my business mum community. That's kind of the foundation, because you end up saying, hey, what do you do? Or what did you do before you had kids, or something like that? And I always say, oh, I work from home. And you can just see the jaw hit the ground. We live in rural New Zealand where people don't really work from home, and they certainly don't do what I did. When I said, I don't sell Avon, or I don't sell essential oils or things like that. I said I work in social media and email marketing, and people were like flabbergasted. They were like, what? People pay you to play on Facebook all day? Wow, talk about a dream job. I mean, obviously there's more to it than that, but that's the connection that they made.
Yeah.
And then they thought, wow, how can I do that too?
Yeah.
Maybe not in social media, but just
It kind of broadens their horizons a little bit and gives them the idea that there is something else out there.
Idea, yeah.
One of the things that I liked about being an FEA was that we had kind of like monthly themes for things, and there was the group calls. Like, so we had like a workshop thing where we could connect with each other, and then they introduced like mixer parties as well.
They were fun. They were fun.
And we got to be on video too, so that was fun for people who weren't so keen on that. But connecting people from all over the place, and I think that's what is the beauty of the internet. But we had some great questions actually coming from one of the earlier streams about how to go about making connections digitally, like online and in groups and things. So if you have any experiences you could share there, that would be awesome.
Yeah, I think when it comes to Facebook groups, especially when they're the size of FEA, like it's well over 5,000 members now, it can be very hard to get lost in the news feed. Like, it's just continual. And the thing is, people connect on you sharing your story, and they connect on you kind of being vulnerable, sharing your mistakes and errors and how you've learned from it. So even though it's hard to do that, to actually write it down and post things like that, and always post a photo, even if it seems like it's unrelated, the photo will stand out in a news feed. And then the other thing is to be consistent, like post at least every day, if not twice, and share things that you're learning, share things that you're working on, share things that also collaborate with other people. If you've worked with someone, like give them a shout out in the group, and then other people can go and check them out as well. Like, word of mouth is like crucial for small business owners.
Yeah. One of the other things I found was really good was reading what other people had to say and then giving either constructive feedback or like going and following them and seeing what they're doing and how they're doing it and going, hey, I really like what you do. Just something as simple as that.
Absolutely. And it's easy to just go, hey, good work, or awesome, love that. But if you take the time to write a thoughtful comment on their post that shows you've read it and thought about it and you've checked them out, maybe you can, click through to their Instagram or click through to their website and say, hey, I really love what you're doing here. That'll keep you top of mind for them as well.
Yeah. There was a recent thing where it was a call to share your video content, and I've got video content this week because we're doing the Sunshine Summit, a week of live streams. And so I put that there, and it's hard sometimes to be brave to put out there what you are doing. But at the same time, people came back and said, I think that's great what you're doing. And the feedback you get from people can help lift you up. And then also it starts that conversation with them, and then, it can branch out from there. And you can have one little interaction there and they might put you on to someone else. Like, I was talking to someone invited me to a mastermind group, and that was cool. They were talking about what they wanted to do there. And I said, well, hey, I know this person, which happened to be Emily Prokop, who will be on tomorrow in the Sunshine Summit. And they've connected now and collaborated together. So it's very awesome how connections can kind of branch out.
That's exactly it. Like, you may meet someone and think that you don't have anything in common with them, and there's absolutely kind of no reason that you're too different to have a collaboration, but you just don't know who they know that they could introduce you to, or you could introduce to them. And you just make the most of every person that you meet, even if you think that it's unrelated. Like, you just don't know who they know.
Yeah. Have you got any tips or advice for when you do feel nervous about that and how to kind of push through that nervousness?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of the 5-second rule, if anyone's heard of that. You have an idea that pops into your head, like, oh, maybe I should write a post about that, or maybe I should reach out to that person. And then as quickly as you think of it, your brain will shut you down. It'll say, that's a silly idea. No one will be interested in that. They won't want to work with me. Your brain is designed to keep you safe, and change or putting yourself out there in a scary way is keeping it safe. But we all know that that's not how it works. You can stay safe, but you're not going to progress in any way. So if anyone's heard of Mel Robbins, she invented the 5-second rule. So as soon as you think that thought, hey, maybe I'll email Heather about this idea that I've got. And then you, as soon as you start to think, oh no, she won't be interested, you count 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. When you get to 1, you hit send on your email before you can think about it too much, before you overthink it. And then that's how you push through all of these little things that you know are going to help you drive your business forward or drive your hobbies forward or anything that you want to do in life. It's scary to put yourself out there. It's scary to be visible. Like, fear of visibility is a real thing.
Yeah.
You might think, oh, of course I want to be visible. That's just silly. Why would I be scared of that? But it is a real thing. And using something like the 5-second rule will absolutely help you push through it.
Yeah.
And just have your email written already and then just hit send before. And it actually doesn't matter. Maybe Heather says, she replies and says, oh, that's not the right opportunity for me. That's, it's the wrong time for me right now. Maybe she doesn't reply at all. That's not really the point of what, you can't control what Heather does.
Yeah.
You only can control what you do. And by hitting send, then the next time you'll be more confident to hit send when you want to speak to someone else.
Yeah, I love that. And it sounds simple, and it is simple, but it's really effective.
Yeah, it'll work every time. Every time.
One of the other great things that I love is that you are doing some training and things because you're looking at adding to your skill set. You're doing learning to become a health coach as well as is it a life coach, business coach?
Yeah, everything. They always say niche down, focus on one thing. So I'm like expanding and focusing on everything at the moment. I'm like learning everything that I can possibly learn, and then I'll niche down from there, I think. So yeah, by making connections. A mentor of mine, because originally when I started my business, I was a virtual assistant. And then from there, I kind of branched out into social media and email marketing, niching down into those things. And a mentor of mine, completely out of the blue, said, have you ever thought about being a health coach? I've never spoken to her about coaching. I've never spoken to her about health. I've never spoken to her about anything related to that. And then she thought, wow, I've got a friend who you need to meet. You've got to connect with this person and be a part of her health coaching program. So I said, yeah, absolutely. I took the introduction and had a Zoom call, and now I'm training to be a health coach. Completely pivoted from what I normally do.
Yeah, but we were saying earlier or in our other chats that the fact that you're adding these skills and kind of learning all of these things, it's a holistic, if business and life is holistic and intertwined. And so all of these things will be valuable when you're doing the work that you do and supporting business mums and their communities and things.
Yeah, exactly. Like, as I've been kind of growing my business mum community, it's not all about business. Yes, the business strategies are nice and they're going to drive your business forward. But if you don't have the mindset behind it, then you're just going to fall flat every time. And that's really what I'm passionate about, is getting, like I always say, I want to smash those limiting beliefs into a million pieces and really help people see what's possible, because most people or most mums just don't know what's possible. They think they've got to put their kids in daycare, go get a real job, I say it like that. Go back to corporate, and they may feel sick inside. Like, I don't want to work a 9 to 5. I want to be creative. I want to make jewelry. I want to paint. I want to have a podcast. And I think depending on your upbringing and where you are in life, you just don't even know that the online world exists and just what's possible. Like, you can turn any kind of business into an online business and sell whatever it is you offer online.
Yeah.
Whether that's a physical product or a service or, coaching or, whatever.
Yeah. I think a lot here in New Zealand too, that's really common, that we have the there is the unknown about it because it's just not the done thing. I mean, there are lots of entrepreneurial people here, but it's just not as common. Same with listening to podcasts, that's
Yeah.
still growing. And it's exciting being sort of on that wave of it all and experiencing, but then bringing in all the resources to then help and support other people too to share that and make it more known.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's pretty fun to kind of be the pioneer and bringing all this stuff to New Zealand. There are some people who are doing great things, but most people are still stuck in the go to school, get a degree, get a job, get married, have kids, retire, and doing the same job for 40 years. Like it doesn't work like that anymore. There are possibilities. You don't have to go to a job you hate every day when you can follow your heart and actually make money from doing something that you really love.
Yeah. And then there's also different things of just having a hobby and doing your 9 to 5, but having the creative
Yeah,
outlet to sort of fill that other side of yourself and what you enjoy.
exactly. I always encourage people to not just quit the job and go all in on the business side of things or the hobby and just hope it works. Get going with your, if you want to make money from your hobby, go to, I mean, obviously it depends on what you do. Go to trade shows, go to events and hold an exhibition where you sell your photographs or your artwork. Like it's possible to make money because someone will buy whatever it is you're making.
Yeah. If you make good art, then people will appreciate that. And it's like
Absolutely.
finding your audience. And that could be just simply spending time looking at where you would go if you were looking for what you're offering, and then going to those places, whether that be online or in person, like the trade shows, and then, yeah, being brave and
Being
and being
brave.
brave, counting to 5 or counting down from 5 and just doing it and asking and
Calm
talking to
down and
people.
do it. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. Like you can't sit at home and expect to grow
yeah,
in any way.
yeah. Are you like a do you set goals and things for the year, and how do they help you with what you want to achieve?
Yeah, absolutely. I always sit normally in December or early January, kind of work out what I want to achieve, what I'm going to be working on, what courses I might need to purchase so I can budget for that. And yeah, break it down into 3 months, quarterly goals, and then break it down into monthly goals. And it keeps you on track.
Yeah.
When you go, because we've all got those emails where they promising the latest thing, but you go back to your goals and is that going to help me this month or this quarter? Do I need to focus on this right now or can I wait until later on in the year?
Yeah. And look at what things will help build the connections that you want to build. And I was going to say also from our chat in the podcast, we also mentioned about part of making a plan and having goals and things and sticking to that is booking in the times to make those connections too. Like we have a weekly time that we book in because I'm going through your health coaching course at the moment, which is
Yeah.
amazing. But we do that and we book it in so that it is a scheduled time that we both stick to, and it keeps it easy. It keeps it as part of the plan and easy to stick to.
Absolutely. Like if you've got something that you need to achieve, you've got to schedule it in the calendar. And it also helps if you have someone who's making you accountable. Like
Yeah.
at every 10 o'clock on Thursday, Heather and I chat or I have a coaching call. And, if the other person's not there, then we're on Messenger going, hey, I'm ready for our call. Where are you? Sometimes Heather's like doing laundry because it's sunny and she's got to make hay while the sun shines. So, but we know every week, Thursday at 10, that's when we're talking. And if you schedule that in, then you're going to make it happen.
Yeah, definitely. Are there goals and things that you have for this year for building your connections that you're trying to make?
Yeah, my biggest goal, I think, is picking one or two Facebook groups and really getting to know everybody in the group. I've got a few that some of them are just with thousands of people. I think the Boss Mom community is like over 20,000. So it's really hard to kind of get in there. It's not hard to get in there, but it's really hard to stand out when there's that many people. So I've got a few other groups that I want to connect with other mums, with smaller groups, like, a few hundred people or even smaller than that. So you can really get to know all the people in the group and what they're doing.
Yeah. One of the things that I found with the bigger groups is that it's handy to use the search function and search for things that you're looking for that people might have asked before, or specific topics and things, and then scroll through, and then you can make connections that way by seeing who's posted or what links they've shared. That's a good way to find out. And then definitely the smaller communities where it's a little bit more one-on-one and you can have a proper conversation and get to know them and not trying to think back, now who was that I was talking to?
That's my biggest, when I was first starting out, that was my biggest downfall, was that I didn't write it down. And who I spoke with and what about. Sometimes you have to have like a spreadsheet and have a link to their Facebook profile or something, so you can keep track of who you were talking to, and then you can go check back in. Like if they were struggling with something that you helped them with, you can go check back in and say, hey, how did you get on with that? Can I help you in any other way?
Yeah.
But yeah, I didn't do that at first, and I got pretty lost. So I was like, I want to actually speak to that person again, but now I don't know where they are.
Yeah. Saving stuff as well, like Facebook has a save the post or save things, and that's quite handy. You just have to go back and remember that you've saved it. But I just wanted to ask you about, for yourself and having, like, being visible, like we were saying, one of the things that I noticed was where your focus goes, your energy flows, and it's can be quite overwhelming being on all the social media platforms. And in FEA, they kind of promote that you should sort of focus on one thing, get really good at it first before you try and tackle all of the other platforms. But what I found for myself was that I got most of the platforms there, put all the same information so that my message, if someone looked me up across all of those things, they would see the same message. And like this YouTube channel had nothing on it before this week, but I had all the information there. So if someone popped by to check it out while I was promoting it, they could see all of my things. They could connect with me with my email address or find me on Twitter and things like that. So if you have any thoughts on being, how to be visible in those sorts of things, or any,
Yeah, absolutely. It's so overwhelming with all the hundreds of different social networks that are out there now. I do recommend, when you're starting a business or anything like that, is to claim your profile name. Even if you don't do anything with it right now, just claim that name, because if you don't, someone else is going to. And if you start getting some traction on Facebook, and then someone else goes and takes your username on Twitter, that you don't want that. So I just get your username and then be consistent with your branding. Have the same cover photo on everything. Have the same kind of or similar about your bio, stuff like that. And then absolutely, so focus on one or two. Most people, I think, well, I shouldn't say that, but in my audience, I actually asked them, what do you focus on? And they told me Facebook and Instagram. Yeah. So now I know if I want to connect with other business mums to go to those two places first, but I've still got a presence on all of the other sites as well.
Yeah. I think that's important, having a consistent message, because then people are... Have we got reverb? Can you hear me back in your... No? Just checking, because we've had some tech issues. Yeah, definitely claiming the things that you may use in the future, just so that they're available. That goes for website domains and things like that, because the last thing you'd want is someone else to have that. And having a consistent message, so people go, yes, I remember that from there, and that's cool, I can connect with them this way. Another question that just popped up in the chat was from Stargate Pioneer, and he said, what type of organizational tools like Trello can help enhance connections?
Yeah, absolutely. So all of those kind of tools, Trello, Asana, and Slack is another really good one. They are really good for collaboration. If you've got guests on your podcast, guest posters on your blog, or any other kind of collaboration, you can add them to a board in Trello, or you can add them I forget what it's called in Slack now, a channel, I think.
Yeah.
Add them to your channel, and then while you're collaborating on that project, you can comment and all of those good things. So I highly recommend using something for that to organize everything, because once you start, if you've got a podcast, which I'm sure a lot of people watching do, and you don't know which guest is coming, and you can keep all your notes in there, and you can back and forth comments and all of that stuff. So I absolutely recommend using some kind of management tool to build connections with your guests and people who are directly involved with your business. They can be team members as well. If you've got a graphic designer or a VA or a web designer, get them into your Trello, because the more involved they are, the more they'll hear your voice and all of that. So they'll know what you're looking for.
Yeah, those things are good because you can share pictures, you can just post a message, you can check off a checklist in Trello. There's even a calendar feature that's available, and it can be web-based on your desktop at home, or you can take it on the mobile app with you, and the versatility there is really awesome for being on the go. And there's like Google Docs that you can, there's all sorts of things that have a share function that you can share with someone else to allow them to work with you digitally across all of the things. And keeping it all together in one place, something that you are comfortable with using, and a good way of connecting. So like we're hanging out on a Google Hangout at the moment. Another one that we use is like Zoom for calls, because it's a nice platform to use. And there's Skype and things like that for having conversations as well. And then there's things like Facebook groups and those other places where you can build a community there and share resources, like a closed group or one that's not open to everybody, and just have the important people in it that you need to connect with.
Absolutely. And I think video calling is so important now. Gone are the days where you jump on a landline and or have an audio, although you can still do audio as well, absolutely, but just having a video, I think, is crucial for building connections. You can see the people, you can see how they interact, you can see, if you ask them a question and they're looking quite blankly at the screen. So I think video calling is really important.
Yeah. You and I use Zoom, and that's really cool. And one of the things that I've been using, and I have a little audience, but they're quite engaged, and it's awesome being there. And I'm part of other communities as well that are using Discord, which is awesome. So that has like the voice chat capability, because in Facebook groups and things, there's people can go live, but that's a one-way street. It's that person going live, and you have to comment in the comment section. Whereas, there is the video capability on Discord too, but I think that's just sort of in a direct message with someone, which could be good for connecting also, because it has like quite a good audio quality and things. But look at where there are all of the tools that you might want to use and might be valuable for what you're doing, because it's going to be different based on what you're trying to achieve.
There are so many tools out there that you can get pretty overwhelmed pretty quickly.
Yeah.
I recommend when you're just starting out with something to try like free ones first, but then you might need to upgrade. Like with Zoom, you can have one-on-one conversations, but if you want to do like a webinar style where people watch and you have guests and stuff, you might need to upgrade. Google Hangouts is completely free, which is good, and Skype is also free as well. But there's so many to choose from. It can be quite scary when you're just starting out and trying to choose one. But just make a list of what you need, and then kind of figure out the best way to go forward from there.
Yeah, and also asking what other people's experiences have been like using that search function I said before, and seeing what other people are actually using who might be in a similar area to you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because we can all share advice, because we're still doing a different journey, and we're going to present out whatever we've got in our own way, and I think that's really awesome.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I was going to say something. I can't think what it was now. Got sidetracked there.
That's all right. So this has been really awesome because there's like connections are pretty important to grow your business, to have a social sort of impact as well. And in order to do that, there's kind of like looking after yourself and making sure that you've got the energy and the space and the things to do it. But then pushing past the nervousness and the other things that might hold you back so that you can go forward and do the things that you want to do.
Absolutely. You got to take care of yourself first, because you'll never ever do anything if you're feeling bad yourself. I think like you won't have the motivation to do it, you won't have the confidence to do it. So, and that comes back to really focusing on self-care, and everyone has different things that they do for self-care. I like to do yoga, other people like to go for walks, taking a bath. That's another thing that Mel Robbins suggested, and people were like, what? Taking a bath? That sounds weird. But if you actually did it, every night or a few times a week, and check in with yourself and see how you feel about it.
Yeah.
Because that might be your thing that you didn't know.
Yeah. I want to tie that into checking in with yourself, is when you do check in with yourself and sort of work on things, like work out what it is that you want to do, then you'll get more comfortable with what your message is and what you're trying to do. So, yeah, having an understanding of what it is that you're passionate about and what you're trying to achieve, and then thinking up all those ways that you can be creative and brainstorming, and then maybe that's where you can connect with people in like a mastermind type group, or just a group bunch of run it past someone, tell someone what it is that you're doing and see what they have to say about it.
That's the really scary thing, is telling someone when you first get an idea for something and you have to tell the first person that you want to tell. It's really important to tell the right person. And that's where being in like a really supportive Facebook group or another community is really important, because if you go and tell your mum and she's like, that's a silly idea, that's going to make you feel like, oh, maybe I shouldn't do that. Or a friend or something like that. So you want to have a community of like-minded people. I know the podcast community is like incredibly supportive. Business mom community is incredibly supportive as well. The online kind of business world, because I think often in corporate jobs, and the reason people want to leave their 9 to 5 is some of the cattiness and competition and all of that kind of stuff. And then you kind of can jump into the online world and it is completely different. It's collaboration over competition. So telling, when you've got an idea for a business or something that you want to achieve, maybe it's like a bigger picture, maybe you want to build an orphanage in Africa or whatever it is you want to do, make like you said before, a social impact on something, like leave the world a better place than how you found it. Starting off with that one small little idea and then telling the right person can really influence how fast you move forward, how big you can grow really quickly, or if you take it slowly, which is also absolutely perfect as well.
I think that we have to be flexible in that area, because I mentioned somewhere that sometimes there's a little bit of pressure when you're in entrepreneurial groups to be on the go, to achieve all the things and to do it in a really fast time, because the internet makes it possible that you can do things fast. But to sort of bring it back and realize that it's your journey, and however your journey goes, so long as it's right for you and you're keeping true to who you are and what your message is. It's not the only limits we can put on ourselves the only limits we have are what we put on ourselves, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree with that. You see all of these blog posts, how I made $1 million in 30 days, or how I grew my Facebook group to 100,000 people in a week. And you see all these things online and you think, oh, how am I ever going to do that? But it's really coming back to connecting with yourself and really understanding your why. What are you doing? Why are you doing it? What's the big picture here? And when you know that, as you said, you're on your own journey, and everyone is different. People grow at different stages.
Yeah. I think comparing ourselves to other people is where I was going with that.
That
That's a challenge.
that'll kill everything that you're doing.
Yeah.
And it's so easy to do that. Oh, look at Heather. She's got a podcast. I don't have a podcast. Oh. So, but then actually turning that around and go, okay, my friends are, or my connections are doing this, this, and this. How can I not copy them, because you don't ever want to copy anybody else, but how can I get inspired by them and turn it into my own thing and build my own community and my own projects and all of that stuff. So,
and then they become a resource because they've had the experience, and you can ask them questions and they may be very willing to help you grow too.
Exactly. That's it. And then if you're on the other side of that, if you're the person that's being asked for advice, you can easily put yourself down and say, oh, I don't have experience. I'm not an expert in that. There are heaps of people who are more, who know more about it than me, but you just have to be a couple of steps ahead of them.
Yeah. And
sometimes that's easier. It makes you more relatable if you're just a few steps ahead rather than some big person with 1 million people in their community.
Yeah.
If you're growing with the person that you're looking up to, then that can really cement the relationship, and then they can really help you. And then I think you might be able to start a podcast or start a business, but if you are teaching someone else how to do it, that's a whole different ball game.
Yeah.
You might know how to do something, but teaching someone else how to do it really builds your own confidence, because then you start thinking, I actually do know what I'm talking about here.
Yeah. Yeah. And having someone also who's cheering you on in your corner. And that's what I love about our friendship, is that we became accountability partners. So we were there to keep each other on track and on task and working towards the things we wanted to, but also that we were supporting each other and cheering each on, celebrating the wins, working through the challenges that we had, and being able to move forward.
Exactly. Like, you need somebody in your corner that you can just bounce ideas off or get advice or just vent sometimes.
Yeah.
I think sometimes we just focus on being positive and positive thinking, and I've got to change my story and focus on everything that's going well. And that's absolutely agree with that. That's everything that I believe as well. But sometimes you just need to vent and get all of that out, and then you can move forward. And you don't want to just start complaining and turn into a complainer about everything that's going wrong and why is it all happening to me. Yeah. But if you can vent, say, be truthful and be vulnerable. This is what's going on. This is the mistake I made, or this is what I'm struggling with. And then turn it into a positive afterwards. Like, what action step can I take to turn it around? Like, and having another person to bounce ideas off is just because they've got a different perspective to you. Yeah. They might have come across a person in their email yesterday that sent them an email about the exact thing that you're struggling with. So,
yeah. I totally agree with that. And sometimes that might be hard to find that one person, but it might not have to be just one person, but it
can be a group.
Yeah, it can be a group of people. Like we said, whatever works for you. And just, I don't know. I think when we have that, I mean, we're all capable of amazing things. We've all got skills and qualities that make us special,
unique,
and things that we can bring to the table. And they might not be achieving all the big things, but if it is just like for Adam Higgins, who was in the chat yesterday, me just reaching out and saying, hey, how are you doing, when he was really crook, it meant the world to him. And so it's just something like that, letting someone know that you're thinking of them can also have a huge impact.
It is all about those little details. That's what really brings the relationship and the connection together.
Yeah.
If you just focus only on the big things and the things that are going well, then you'll have a friendship, but it won't be that really authentic, raw relationship that you have with somebody. Yeah. And I think that's where I struggle as well, actually, because I'm always like, I'm so positive, everything's awesome. And it's really like, you know what? Sometimes it's not awesome.
Yeah.
and having someone else there to look out for you and to just send a quick message. Like, I mean, how long does it take to send a quick text saying, how are you doing? Like it takes like 1 second to do that.
Yeah.
And forever that person is going to be thinking, like, oh, wow, Heather's such an awesome person. How kind is she? I'm using you as an example, but everyone can do it, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And it's not hard, and it doesn't take too much time, and it doesn't have to be
some big paragraph thing, right? You don't need to write a novel.
Yeah. So just making that one little thing and letting them know that you're thinking of them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's where you stick out in people's mind, because most people won't do that. Yeah. So if you just send one quick message, then they're always going to be thinking of that, and they'll always be reminded of that as well. So that when you need something, maybe they'll help you out as well.
That's it. It comes back to the holistic thing. It's not just all about the business. It's not what can you do for me. It's like, how can we both
work together
and get something out of it? Yeah.
Yeah. So we both win.
Yeah. And I love that. I love this creative journey because I'm enjoying finding new people and hearing from them and then learning what their stories are, because I mean, it expands your horizons. Then I can, before I started the podcast, I was at home and working from home, and I didn't talk to a whole lot of people on a daily basis, and it got very lonely and isolating, and just branching out opened up a whole other world and helped me change my perspective and helped me be motivated and inspired and learn from other things that I wouldn't necessarily have considered before.
Yeah, it does. There's a whole world out there. There's just whatever you're interested in, and you might not even be interested in it now, but who's to say you're not going to be later, you know, in a year's time or even in a week's time. There's whatever you want to do with your life, there's a community for that, and you can really connect with other people and really open your mind up. I mean, I think there's a lot of kind of negative talk, I think, about people always being on Facebook, always been on their phones. And I agree with that. I'm not discounting that at all. I do think that we spend too much time with technology, but you can connect with people all over the world. Like, where else, like what other time could you have a Skype call with someone in America or England or, you know, and build a relationship with people that you haven't even met yet? That's what I love. Some of my best friends, I've never even met them in person. Like, it's just blows my mind. Yeah. And I know there has to be a balance. You can't just sit on your phone all day texting people or, you know, jumping in Discord and commenting all the time. You actually have to put your phone away and connect with the people in your real life as well. And but sometimes it's hard because they don't get what you're doing. Yeah. So there has to be the balance, right? You've got to, and I know you're a big advocate as well of getting out in nature and, you know, leaving the cell phone away, putting the cell phone away, getting out in nature and just being with the people in your life. But then there's also this other side where, you know, you can be in a Facebook group with 20,000 people and you're like, wow, these people get me. They understand about nappies and trying to work while your son is napping and all of that kind of fun stuff that comes along with being a business mom.
One of those things that I think is good about being connected is that, it opens it up to people all around the world, but then it can be at a time when you need it because of time zones. So if you happen to be up in the middle of the night, you know, there might be someone out there that you can reach out to thanks to the technology of the internet. The other side of it is, having a balance, and it doesn't have to be extreme that you have to, if you're not a gardener, I'm not suggesting you go and start a garden, but, you know, like just noticing what's happening in the world around you to sort of also give you a bit of perspective, because being digital can be quite of a time suck and an energy thing and get very narrow as well. And then broadening it back up to where you physically are in the world and what's around you.
Yeah, no, I love that. That is so true. There's just so many people in the world. There's so many friends to make. That's what I just love about all of this. So, And I absolutely get that too. When my son was a baby and I was up at random hours feeding and all of that stuff, there was always someone to talk to, because being up at 3 o'clock in the morning feeding a baby is really lonely as well. There's no one to talk to. No one's up at that time.
Yeah.
But then, you jump on Facebook or you jump on another social media platform and you've got, there's always someone who's up and someone to chat with. So,
yeah. Yeah. And then bringing it back to the where you are and things, you can also get a lot from just sort of looking at what's around you, because then it might not be that you then go and engage in whatever's there. I don't know if that's not your thing, but you might just be inspired by something you see, be inspired by the nature around you or whatever, to make different connections that you might not have considered before. So definitely a balance, and connections are really important in ourselves and growing our communities and our businesses and everything like that. So I have loved having you on today, Jilanne, and I also really appreciated that you were my guest for the Sunshine episode of the podcast.
I've had so much fun. This has been really cool. Because originally, even when you invited me to be a guest on your podcast, I thought, oh my gosh, what am I going to talk about? I've got nothing to say. And then even for the summit, I thought, what am I going to actually say? But you realize once you start talking to somebody and building the connections, it all comes back to those connections. Yeah. That Heather and I could probably do a 24-hour summit and not run out of things to talk about all the things that we love in life and all our passions and everything. So
we do, if we're honest, we do have a bit of trouble sometimes keeping to our time limit for our weekly calls, because we've got so much to catch up on. But for me, that really helps because, like I said, don't have too many people at home to do that with. So making the time to call you and have it a regular part of my life has been really beneficial, and I appreciate you so much.
Thank you so much, and I appreciate you as well, of course. Well, I recently moved and we stopped our calls for a few months, but it's been really exciting since we've started them back up again. And our health coaching session is supposed to be 30 minutes, but we do a bit of masterminding and accountability stuff as well. So sometimes it ends up being about a 2-hour call. So I block it out. I block it out of my calendar. I'm like, it's going to be 2 hours. If we finish before that, then that's all right. But
we plan for it. But yeah, it is.
Got to plan for it.
Got to plan for it. And the health coaching has really helped me. We've had some wins there. I've achieved some great things with that. And that's just helped by having you share that information that I don't know because I'm not a health coach, but also keeping me accountable, and the being in touch with you makes that real and helps make it make an impact.
Yeah.
So, can't wait to see you on Thursday for our chat.
We're gonna Thursday 10 o'clock. Yep. Without fail. In the calendar.
Thanks so much, Jilanne, and I look forward to seeing you again soon.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.
Bye.
I will go to the screen share for the end, hopefully, if it works. There we go. So you can find Jilanne Holder at jilanneholder.com. You can also find, I'm not sure how many mums are in the live chat, but if you want to, Jilanne is the founder of the Business Mum Community Facebook group, and it is a really supportive place to be. And yeah, just check out her website, and I'm looking forward to working with Jilanne, and we've got this great friendship now, which I am totally grateful for. So I'm thrilled that she was part of the Sunshine Summit 2018. That wraps up the stream for today. We just have the one stream. Tomorrow we will have Emily Prokop from the Story Behind Podcast and ePodcast Productions, and I think that's at 1:30 p.m. New Zealand time, which is 8:30 p.m. EDT. So yeah, if you can check that one, I'd love to see you there.